Welcome to Talking Bayern, the one-stop shop for Bayern Munich content on YouTube. Today I'll be doing something a little bit different, a little bit fun. Today we're going to be ranking the Bundesliga teams in a tier list. So I'm very excited to do this, and I plan on doing several more tier lists in the future. This should be a lot of fun, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So I've kind of mapped these out in terms of title contenders, Champions League hopeful teams, some not top four, but teams maybe like 4, 5, 6 that are trying to get into Champions League, teams that are hopeful for Europa League, and then, as I've said, mid-table, mediocre teams that are going to be fighting for relegations, and teams that I think are going to be relegated. Yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to start from bottom to top. So right off the bat, I'm going to start with Greuther Fürth. I'm going to put them in the relegated spot. I just don't think they have what it takes this year. They're struggling so far, and I've said in one of my previous videos when we played them that they've never won a Bundesliga home match in the top flight. So I think they're really going to struggle this year. I do see them as the 18th team in the league. Hopefully they do get that first ever Bundesliga home win at some point, but still I do think they are going to be relegated. Next up, I'm going to choose VfL Beauchamp. I do think they will also be going down this year. I don't see them really with the talent and offense to really break down these other teams. I just don't see what they really can bring to the table that other teams don't already have. So unless we see a managerial masterclass, I don't see a way. And they aren't fighting for relegation all season long. Maybe they squeeze it out, but I really do think that they will be relegated. Another team that I do see relegated this season, a bit of a bolder one. I know they've been struggling for a while now, but I'm going to put in Augsburg. I really don't think they're a very good side, and they struggled defensively, especially last year. And they're just really no one on that team that really stands out for me, and that's kind of the reason I'm going to put them in the relegated spot. I think that they've kind of been due for maybe 1 or 2 years now, where they probably should have got relegated. Maybe a bit of luck on their hands, but yeah, I do think they are going to go down. Hopefully, they bounce up. For those reasons, I do think Augsburg is going to get eliminated. I just don't see what they have that is going to keep them up. Teams that I think are going to be fighting for relegation this season. First off, we're going to go with Arminia Bielefeld. They actually impressed me quite a bit last year compared to what I expected out of them. They gave us a fight against Bayern, but still, I don't think they're going to be a good side this year. Obviously, they haven't been doing very, very well so far in the small amount of games we have, but they will be fighting for relegation. I mean, they were newly promoted last season. They're not quite at mediocre or mid-table yet. I'd like to see them keep improving. There are some players on that squad I do like. I mean, Ortega, I really, really like in net. I think he's a really solid goalie. So I do think that's one of their outstanding players they have. But Doan is another good player they have that I really like. So I'm cheering for them. I am rooting for Bielefeld, so I do hope that they do well, and I hope that they do stay up in the Bundesliga. I would like to see them again. Another team I'm going to throw in this fighting for relegation spot is going to be Hertha. Hertha is really struggling so far this year. I know they got a couple wins, but I still do think they aren't a great side. They barely made it out of the Bundesliga last season, and for a team from Berlin, you really would expect better, but it just seems like Union Berlin is the best team in Berlin now, so maybe the tides have changed. Yeah, I do like Hertha. I think obviously you're playing in the Olympiastadion. It would be really unfortunate if you're playing in the second league with such an incredible stadium. So I do hope Hertha does pull this out and stays in the Bundesliga, and I truly do believe that they will stay up this season, but they will struggle. Another team I'm going to put at fighting for relegation is going to be Cologne, and I might surprise some people, just based on the fact that they are quite high on the table with 9 points right now. They're sitting at 7th, but I do still believe that they will be fighting for relegation this season. They didn't really look convincing in the game that they would. The games that they did win, they didn't look very convincing to me. So I just don't see how they will, become a mid-table side this year. I don't think they really have it in them. They've gotten a lot of goals, obviously, out of some players probably didn't expect, like Kynes and Modeste, but I don't see that continuing to stay. So I'm going to throw Cologne in this area. As for mediocre teams, the next section I'm going to go with, to start off, I'm going to see Hoffenheim. I think Hoffenheim has probably started off the season a bit better than they would have expected with 8 points in the first few games. But still, right now they're in the mid-table. I don't expect them to stay. I don't think Kramers can carry them that much. Obviously, they were in Europa League last season, but they didn't do very well. As I said, I don't see the other moves that they're making, apart from Kramers, to stay competitive. Obviously, they have Bebu, a bit of a younger prospect, but he's not quite ready at this level right now. I know he's up and coming, but still, Kramaric is obviously the number one option for them on offense. And, he's been doing very, very well his last few seasons. And, if he had a down season, I don't think he would complain as a Hoffenheim fan. How good he's been for Hoffenheim is exceptional. And if Kramaric stays and does, even better this season, maybe they can be a mid-table side, but I don't see that happening. I'm going to put them in the lower mid-table here. The next team I'm going to put in the mediocre spot is going to be Stuttgart. I think Stuttgart had a really good season last year. I think with Silas and I think with some of the other stars that broke up there. I know Kalajdzic was another great player for them last year. I just don't see how they could keep this up. I mean, they played really well last season. Maybe played a bit better than many expected as a team that hasn't really been in the Bundesliga for that long, considering they got promotion a few years ago. But still, obviously, they've been impressing. And I hope they do well. Obviously, they have a good young core, I think, on offense. And I'd love to see, especially Kalajdzic, I'm a big fan of. So I'd like to see him succeed. But I don't really think that they're any better than a lower mid-table squad, unfortunately. Moving on to the mid-table, we have quite a bit of competition. This is where things start getting a bit complex. I'm going to put in Gladbach as the first one in the mid-table. I think, they're probably just a bit better. The mediocre, they're not quite Champions League. I know they were in the Champions League last year, but really they haven't started off the season as they would want to. Maybe it's just a managerial switch-up that's doing it, but still, I don't know. I have really not been impressed with Gladbach so far. They have 7 points in 6 games, but they've lost 3 of the last 4 games. Really just not doing it for me. I mean, I think that they're very good against Bayern, and I still am scared of them in the Pokal. They're kind of just our boogie team. They always seem to get decent results against Bayern, but of course, I don't see them being as a very good team. I don't think they're going to make the Champions League this season. They might make the Europa League, but I really don't see any better aspirations for them this season. The next team I'm going to put in here is Eintracht Frankfurt. I really do think they took a step down last season. Obviously, losing Andre Silva, their main talisman, is a huge, huge, huge loss. I think he was an incredible player for Frankfurt. I highly, highly rated him at Frankfurt. He obviously hasn't done a great job at Leipzig so far. But yeah, it looks like Frankfurt's just not the team they were last year. I mean, at the end of, I think, the second half of the season last year, they only lost 1 or 2 games in the entire second half. So they were doing brilliant. They definitely should have made Champions League last season. So, maybe if they had made the Champions League, we would see Silva still at Frankfurt, and maybe they'd be, Champions League hopeful again. But, it's a bit of a sad story for Frankfurt just because they really should be in the Champions League. Just based on they just tie too many games, honestly, and you're going to want the 3 points more often than not. Getting the 1 point is just not enough. You really want to get the win, and they don't push enough for the win. And that's the reason I don't see them being any better than a mid-table side this season. The next team, and it hurts me to put them here because I really do like this side, is Mainz. I really, really like Mainz. I want to put them in Europa so badly because I do highly rate Mainz. I think they're a really good team. They got some really solid young defenders at the back there, Niakate, St. Just to name a couple. But, I really rate this squad. I would like them to make Europa League. I want to put them in that category for hopeful. I just don't see it right now. They're currently in 6th, so they currently are in a Europa League spot. But I do think they're going to drop off slightly and stay a mid-table side. Obviously, many people rated them to get relegated last season. I put them as more of a mediocre team. I do think that they are better than what they did last year. I know they were one of the hottest teams in the Bundesliga at the end of last year, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep it up for the full year. I think they're lacking a bit on offense. I don't know who's going to be scoring enough goals to get them in a Europa League spot. So that's why I'm going to put them in the mid-table. Unfortunately, I would love to put them higher. I just can't. Now for the Europa League, so these are teams I think can make the Europa League. I know there are only 7 teams left, so maybe there should have been a bit more options. But I think these are the teams that realistically have a chance of making the Europa League. So first off, I'm going to put Union Berlin, and I would rate Mainz as the highest out of these 3, just to be clear. But yeah, in the Europa League, I'm going to put Union Berlin here, and I really love this team. Obviously, they got promoted for the first time 2 seasons ago. They've been doing incredible. They have 20 games unbeaten at home now, which is a crazy stat to think. Promoted for the first ever time in their history to the top division in their history, and they have not lost a game at home in 20 games. That is crazy, crazy, crazy stat. I hope they keep it up. The little fortress they got in Berlin is just awesome. They obviously have a great energy at the stadium. I'm glad to see fans are back, especially for Union Berlin. Obviously, last season they didn't really get any fans at home, which was sad to see them in their first ever season, obviously not having fans. But at least they have fans now, and it's going to be a hard place to play at this year. So I really do think teams are going to Berlin and playing Union. Next off, I'm going to put Fryeburg. I really like Fryeburg this year. I liked them last year. I know Grifo and is an exceptional player. I think he's underrated. I think he's a very, very good talent and a great free kick player, great playmaker, and he honestly can do anything on offense. I'm really highly rate Grifo, but honestly the rest of the team is good as well. But I really just like the way this team meshes, and it's always hard to play at Fryeburg as well. They have such a good home record up there in the north, but I really do think that Fryeburg has a solid chance of making the Europa League this year. That might be a bit of a bold prediction for some, but I really do think that it is possible. I really rate Fryeburg, so I'm going to stick with my choice. These next teams are going to be teams that I think are aspiring for the Champions League, so they might be able to make the Champions League, but I wouldn't quite rate them as a Champions League hopeful just yet. So I'm going to go with Bayer Leverkusen. I really like this team. I really like Florian Wirtz and Patrick Schick. I think Louis Radetzky is a very good goalkeeper as well. I just think there are some pieces missing, maybe in midfield. I know Florian Wirtz is crazy good. I love this guy. I really hope Bayern do get him in a couple of years' time, but I don't think they're going to make that push. It's going to be a tight one if they can make Champions League. Obviously, Florian Wirtz and Patrick Schick are a good way to get you there. But it'll be interesting to see if they can make it, because it is going to be close whether they are going to make the Champions League or not. But they're definitely going to have their hat in the ring. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do, because I do think they have a solid chance of making Champions League. Next, I'm going to put in Leipzig. So I do rate Leipzig slightly higher than Leverkusen in this spot. But at the end of the day, I do think that Leipzig took a major step down, obviously losing Sabitzer, Upamecano, to name many others, Nagelsmann as well. I mean, that's just Bayern alone. We're not even talking about Konate, who is also, they lost to Liverpool. They honestly made a big step down this year. I really do think they were the second best team in the Bundesliga last season. But yeah, it's honestly sad to see them make a bit of a step down. Obviously, want to see all our other teams in the Bundesliga stay at a top level and stay competitive, but I really do think that Leipzig has taken a step down, and you can kind of see that this year. Obviously, Andre Silva hasn't really worked out for them just yet. Obviously, they've always had problems scoring. That's been their major flaw at Leipzig. But obviously, getting Andre Silva should solve those problems, but it hasn't quite yet. I do think they will start doing better, because they only have 7 points right now, so they're 10th in the table. So obviously, they're going to be doing much, much better than that. I don't think they've ever not come in the top 4, honestly, ever since being promoted for the first time back in, 2016, 2017. So I really do think that Leipzig will be in the ring for Champions League. I think they're going to be aspiring for a Champions League spot this season, but we're going to see a turnaround from Andre Silva. And honestly, Nkunku is playing incredible. He's kind of carrying the team right now, so other players definitely need to stay up. As for the title contenders, I think it goes without saying, Bayern Munich is the obviously number one title contender here. They're going to be aspiring for a Champions League spot again this season. Obviously, they're going to be aspiring to win the league, and I do believe they will win the league this year. Obviously, there are some other teams that are going to contend for that title, but it will be interesting to see if Bayern can go a 10th title in a row. I'm also going to go with, obviously now, Dortmund as another title contender. Obviously, a very good team. Erling Haaland is an incredible player. He's scoring at the level of Robert Lewandowski, to be honest, right now. So it'll be scary to see if he can stay healthy. This season could go down to the wire. I do think we're due for a good title race this season, and I do really hope that we do see a down-to-the-wire style season. Lastly, I have Wolfsburg here, so I do think they are a title contender. Obviously, their defense is incredible. Lacroix, Mbabu, Roussillon, Brooks. I do think they have a really solid back line. I think Baku can also play right back. He's playing a bit more of a right mid for them right now, but I really do think they have a very good squad. Arnold, obviously you got Weghorst at striker. Just a really good team. I think they're going to do damage in the Bundesliga this season. So I really do think they could be one of the teams at the end of the season that could put their name in to win it all. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe I'll do another tier list like this closer to the end of the season, or maybe at the halfway point. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. I sure had a lot of fun doing it, so make sure to tell me if you want to see more content like this in the future. So make sure to leave a like and a comment if you did enjoy this video. If you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'll be doing plenty more match reactions, reviews, and tier lists in the future. So make sure to stay tuned for that kind of content. Hope to see you all in the next one. Until then, mia se mia.